Going to the gym can be discouraging, especially if you're putting in the work but barely seeing changes. But with Tonal, you can actually see your progress with every workout. Tonal provides the convenience of a full gym and the expertise of a personal trainer anytime at home with one sleek system. Designed to reduce your mental load, Tonal is the ultimate strength training system, helping you focus less on workout planning and more on getting results. No more second-guessing your technique. Tonal gives you real-time coaching cues to dial in your form and help you lift safely and effectively. After a quick assessment, Tonal sets the optimal weight for every move and adjusts in 1 pound increments as you get stronger, so you're always challenged. Tonal lets you choose from a variety of expert-led workouts, from strength to aero hit to yoga and mobility, to keep you coming back for more. For a limited time, go to Tonal.com to get $500 off your Tonal purchase, plus a free 4-year warranty. That's Tonal.com for $500 off, plus a free 4-year warranty. Tonal.com.
Blog Talk Radio. The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network. The Women of Golf show is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips magazine. Here's more about our sponsors. iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Good morning. Welcome to the Women of Golf, the #1 women's golf show around the world, with hosts Ted Odorico and Cindy Miller. Join them as they interview some of the best players from the Symetra, LPGA, and Legends Tour, and so many others, helping to elevate women's golf. So without further ado, here are your hosts, Ted and Cindy.
All right, good morning, everybody, and once again, welcome to the Women of Golf show. I'm Ted Odorico, and right alongside is none other than Legends Tour player and LPGA professional, Cindy Miller, and we, of course, are your hosts. Good morning, Cindy. Oh. Hi, Cindy. I'm sorry, for some reason you're not coming through. No, we'll have to check and see on that. All right, so we've got a great show for this morning. I'll keep talking here, and we'll figure out what's happening with Cindy for some reason. I don't know, Cindy, maybe if you're muted, but we'll see what's happening. But all right, we've got a great show for this morning. We're going to be joined here in just a few moments here by our latest winner, our first winner of the 2021 season off the Symetra Tour. She won the past week's Carlisle, Arizona Women's Golf Classic. And we're, of course, talking about Ruixin Liu. This was her 5th win on the Symetra Tour. And she's going to be joining us here in just a moment. And then a little bit later on, we're going to be joined by Val Patrick, who is a Class A LPGA teacher professional. She'll be joining us on the second half. And so I'm going to welcome Ruixin on the show. Ruixin, welcome to the Women of Golf.
Morning, Ted, and thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Let me just check. Cindy, are you there now?
I am here. I have no idea what was happening, but it was about 8 times. Hi, sweetie pie, way to win it this week.
Oh, thank you, Cindy. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Well, congratulations first and foremost. And let me just, before we start, Cindy, let me just bring out a couple of notes. This is win number 5 for Ruixin on the Symetra Tour this past week. 3 of her wins came back in 2018, which led her to lead or finish as the #1 spot for the race for the card. And in 2018, she graduated from Symetra to first earn her LPGA Tour membership as the 2019 LPGA Tour rookie. And she's only one of 6 players on Symetra Tour history to surpass $100,000 in earnings in a single season. So, what a great career so far, and she's just battling it out. And also, one other thing, this was the first event of Symetra this season, and out of the gate, Cindy, she wins #1.
Right? How good is this girl?
Yeah.
She's a player. A player, darling. A player. So what have you been doing all winter to get ready for this?
So actually, my last event in 2020 was September, the Walmart LPGA event, because I'm having an injury on the bottom of my foot. And I basically, due to the pandemic, even though anything wasn't count, towards the card. So everybody's status stayed the same unless we win. So I just decided to go home to China to treat my foot. So I left mid-September and I came back, I think March 5th. Didn't play golf. I think I only played one round of golf during the 6 months and didn't practice at all. And that's why it feels even better to win the first tournament.
How are you kidding me?
Yeah. I know. That's the trick,
heck?
Cindy.
Take
I know.
6 months off and then win. Normally you tell people take 6 months off and then quit, but not you. Holy cow.
I always take a lot of time off during off season anyway, so I think, but 6 months is the first time for me anyway. That's why I'm a little bit surprised. After first round, I shot a 6 there.
Wow.
What the heck?
I know. That's incredible. That's just incredible. And that,
so you have to
and
be
Cindy, that
so, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Excited. You have to be so excited that you, number one, got your foot fixed, and number two, it didn't hurt you.
Yes. I'm just really pleased with the results of the treatment because, I was in for treatment every 5 to 10 days. So it's a long thing to go. Even though it's not a big injury, it's just a irritated sesame bone. But, but you walk on that bone every single time you take a step. So it's like a really, nasty injury to have. It's not like you break a bone and then you take a break for like 3 months and you're good to go. This is like constantly hurting you.
Oh. What is it that you have?
Wow.
It's a sesame bone irritation. So it's the big toe joint and the bottom of the foot.
So it's not like you can walk different.
Well, I try to wobble a little bit, to try to find a balance, but I don't want to put too much pressure on my left foot. That might cause another problem on the left, so I'm just trying to walk as normal as I can and, just push through it.
Wow. Yeah,
awesome
that's incredible. Let me just point out a few other things from this past week's tournament. She actually ended up in a tie with Rose Zhang, who is number one amateur, and they ended up in a sudden death playoff. And on the second hole, of course, she won. But here's some interesting stats, just to throw a few extra wows. She won, as I said, in a 2-hole playoff. She hit 12 of 14 fairways and 14 greens in regulation and 29 putts in her final round. I mean, that's just incredible. Boring. Yeah, I mean, hey, let's just hit it straight and get it on the green and sink all the putts. I mean, this just it blows my mind, Cindy, because she, as she just pointed out, has been off for 6 months since basically September, comes back just shortly before the event, maybe gets a practice round in that 6-month period and comes out and wins the first event of the Symetra season. So, Ruixin, let me ask you something. When you went into you tied in the event, as I just pointed out, and when you went into the playoff, what is your mindset going in? Obviously, you want to ultimately win, but what do you do because you're going against another player who, obviously has game as well? What do you try to do? What do you focus on when you step up to the first tee of the first playoff hole?
Well, the thing for me for the playoff is this is my first time ever in my career, including, my junior time, to have a playoff and never play playoff before. This is my first time ever. So that's kind of a pressure to me, first of all, because it's the first time. I don't know what to expect and never experienced this. So after my 72 holes, because Rose finished before me, so she's actually waiting on the green for me to finish. So after my 72 holes done, I actually went to the restroom and I took a break. I drink a lot of fluids and try to calm myself down. And then I just tell myself, I've never been there and I did a great week. I'm just going to try and do the same thing I did in the last 4 days on the last hole. It's a par 5. Everybody has a chance, so just be calm and see what happens. And I step on the tee, and Rose definitely is, world number 1 in amateur, so she's really famous. And I saw her on the TV before playing the ANA, as a major, and she did great. So, that's another layers of pressure. But when I step on the tee, her and Rose and her father, they both speak home language to me. And all of a sudden, that feels much, much more relaxed. It's just 2 players, 2 dads. We both speak Chinese, and that kind of took a lot of pressure off. It kind of just feels like a nice, easy last hole. Both of us just walked down. After the tee shot, we started talking, about everything. And I think that helps a lot with the anxiety. And, I actually feel great for my first playoff because it's not as bad as I thought it's going to be mentally.
Well, and what's interesting, let me just point out a little bit about the playoffs just to bring the folks up to speed. You both found the fairway, but her second shot, Rose's second shot, found the desert on the left of the fairway and actually had to take an unplayable. You both actually parred the first hole, and this is on the second, of course. And you found yourself on the green, as you had been in 3, and sunk your birdie putt. So obviously go 1 under for the second playoff hole and ultimately to go on to win. But as you said, this is something, again, adding another check in the box, if you will, something you hadn't done yet. You were obviously nervous coming in there. But were quickly, sort of put at ease because you were, with somebody that you were able to communicate with and had some shared common interests, both being from the same area. So that helped a little bit. But in that moment, do you kind of remove yourself and say to yourself, okay, I'm not really in a playoff. I'm just going to continue on as though I was playing in a normal round, or what do you do?
No, I think I still treat it as a playoff, because in the playoff situation, I'm just trying to get the putt in the hole as soon as I can. Because as you said, Rose hit her second shot left to the desert. She actually just passed the red stake, so past the water hazard into the sand. So she took an unplayable, but more deep into the desert. I actually can't see where her ball is, and I'm on the fairway, so I hit it first around maybe 7 to 8 feet next to the hole, but I'm, on top of the hole, which is a left to right break and then a downhill. And it's not an easy putt. And then she hit a great, great shot next to the pin. I think it was 6 to 7 feet because I putted first, for birdie. But before I stand on the putt, I actually kind of feel a little confident because I had this putt, I think, on round number 2 to head birdie. It's not the same hole location, but they are pretty close to each other, and I have the same line, so I know what to expect, and I just standing there, I putt pretty aggressive for that downhill, and the ball just went straight to the back of the hole. So, because my first playoff hole, I was a little bit nervous on the putting green, so I kind of left it short. And on the second hole, because she's really close to the hole for a par, so you are expecting her to make it. That's why I tell myself I have to be aggressive this time. Otherwise, it's going to be another hole. And I think that mentality actually saved the whole thing.
Well, that's incredible. Again, it just, a testament, and this is why you've won so many times, is the fact that, even though, again, you were nervous, you can draw on that experience that you've amassed over the last few years playing competitive golf to just stick to your game plan and not deviate. And a lot of other players who, maybe haven't had the success that you've had thus far, don't have that same experience sometimes to draw from. So I think that's a testament to all of the hard work that you've been doing over the last several seasons. And again, congratulations on that win. Cindy, go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. Did the thought go through your head that it doesn't matter who wins because I'm going to get the money?
No, because for me, at that time, this is already a past thought. I actually thought about it. I think on hole number 17 or 18. So, but then at that moment, as a player, the only thing I thought is to win the tournament. It doesn't matter about the money. It's just I want that trophy. I want my name on the top of the leaderboard.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So when do you play again?
This week we're in the California Beaumont for the IOA Championship.
Awesome. And then where?
And then I think we have 2 weeks break, and then back to Arizona.
Wow. So West Coast until when do you come to Florida?
I'm gonna go home after this week.
Good job, good job. And where is home? What city?
Orlando.
I was just there. We should have gotten together.
Oh yeah, we're pretty close to each other.
Awesome.
Well, she was winning. Yeah, she was winning.
Yes, I was teaching
so she
winners. We were at Orange County.
So Ruixin, let me ask you. You talked a little bit. I want to go back to your injury a little bit. So you're still obviously feeling some of the effects in that, and obviously have to take it easy. How many events do you think you're going to play this year? Obviously, assuming you don't have any further injuries, are you going to try to play a full season on Symetra? And obviously, you're going to try to get out on the LPGA as well. You still have status on the LPGA, correct?
Yes, I'm having a dual membership, but then my status wasn't so good for the LPGA this year. So I think I'm going to stick with Symetra as much as I can, just to try to get to the top 10 so I can have my status for next year. But then I need to go back to China, I think either June or July, to play a tournament. And that's why I'm trying to play as good as I can before that time, trying to climb as high as I can on the board. So when I take that month off going back to China, I have some sort of cushion, just to take it easy. But then I didn't feel any pain this week for my foot, which is a good thing. But then the doctor says this might come back anytime, if I start walking crazy. So I'm not trying to play, tons of practice round and spend so much time on the range. I'm just going to do my thing and then take it easy. Like last week, I slip and fall the week before the weekend. So I actually have a huge hole on my right knee. That's why I'm walking super slow during the tournament because I can't bend over. When you start to scab, every time I walk, it stretches out. And, I can't bend over. I can't mark my ball. I'm just trying to stretch my leg and bend over to mark my ball. So I asked my dad to watch the line on the putting green for me. I can't even watch, read the green.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. So let me ask you, you said a little while ago, you again, obviously you had this injury last year, and your last event was in September in 2020, and then you had 6 months off and only came back and really had one practice round. So typically in a good year, let's say, forgetting injuries and things like that, do you tend to practice a lot? Do you take a lot of time off where you're not playing or practicing? What's sort of your overall regiment, if you will, as far as preparing for events? Some people get out there and they're practicing, to death all the time, and others, can kind of, go for periods of time where they're not playing or practicing a lot, but seem to maintain their game. How were you able to maintain your game to the point where you were able to win when you only played basically one practice round in a 6-month period, coming off an injury?
Well, I am always that kind of person. I took a long time off because since I started playing golf at age 6, I always take summer break and winter break, during the school time. I took them off almost completely, no golf, so I can go back home and enjoy food and friends and everything. And so, for example, 2018, after the Symetra season is done, which is October, I went home to China, I think mid-October. I didn't do anything until January. So I think I only touched my club for a week. I play a tournament back there. It's the China Open, and that's it. I didn't do anything other than that. Didn't practicing and just have fun, roller coaster, food, travel with friends, and those stuff. And I think I've been doing that since age 6, so I think that's why I can pull last week off, after 6 months of no golf.
So you obviously have built up a lot of confidence, as you just said, from age 6 when you first started playing to now playing in that type of schedule. So when you do come back, so when you've had an extended period off, whether it be the summer holiday or whether it be through the winter months, as you said, and you do come back and you do some practicing, what do you work on? What do you do during that time when you get ready for to begin playing competitive golf again? Do you kind of just go through the fundamentals? Do you just play? What do you do? What's your schedule like?
I will start with my swing first because that takes much more time than short game, I think. So I always have a tendency to have my basic stuff a little bit off. For example, my ball position always tend to go to a little right if I took too much time off of golf. So that's the things I'm checking on the most. And then also my takeaway. I always take my club way too back if I didn't play a lot of golf. So takeaway in my ball position is what me and my coach is looking for the first week of coming back. And then the short game is just practicing a little bit more than usual, just try to get the feel back.
Wow, that's incredible. Cindy, it's just amazing when you hear, her explanation of what she does and how, when you think of how many, players out there that just grind and grind and grind and seem to struggle, and yet, Ruixin comes out and, takes an extended break and then comes out and, kind of warms up and practices certain things, and then right out of the gate comes out and win. That's incredible, don't you think, Cindy?
I sure do. So do you mentally practice your swing in your mind when you're taking all this time off?
No, I don't want to think about golf when I'm off, just because I think as a player, before you're a player, you're a person. So you can't do one thing for the whole year. That's going to burn your brain. So I just want to take my time off the course so I can come back sharper. And I want to enjoy myself, during the off season, go shopping, go have fun. And I think that can make my comeback more happier, I can enjoy this game even more. But if you think about it every single day for the whole year, that's, sometimes it's stressful. And I don't want to stress myself out. That's why I want to completely out of the game for, off season.
So if you were speaking to a young girl or boy who wanted to play golf for a living, I think what you're saying is absolutely true and awesome. What would you say to them and their parents who might push them hard, practice all the time, if you were sitting in an interview, like around the campfire, what would you tell them?
I think first of all, everybody is different. I never want to say, when some people is practicing, it is wrong. It is not wrong. You just suit them. So for me, I like to take time off. It's just because I grew up like that, and my parents trying to make me, practicing like that way, because what we thought is injury as a athlete. Sometimes you just can't avoid it. It's going to happen later or sooner in your career. So if you have the comfort to take a break for a period of time and you'll come back fine, that's actually ability, as a player to be able to success. Because if I practicing every single day since my junior time, and then all of a sudden I have an injury, that might be a little tough to come back because you never experienced those. So for me, I just, grew up that way, and this suits my game. But, if some player, they're practicing every single day and that suits for them, it's great. Everybody is just different. But if I want to talk to a young girl or a young boy about this, I would tell them, don't push yourself too hard. Because when you're little, sometimes time isn't the most, important thing. The quality is what you're looking for a practice. And for example, myself, I can't focus more than an hour on the range. So after that time, all the shots I play, I don't think it's quality anymore. So it just depends on everybody, but just don't push yourself to the point you can't handle it anymore. Just try to control the time under the quality.
Well, yay.
Yeah. I think, Ruixin, that's some great advice. And you're right, we are all different, and everybody has to find their own rhythm, if you will. And I think, when I think about that, what I was thinking about while you were saying that was, when you look at the current status of really all the tours, they've expanded, and they're pretty much playing all year round. And they used to take breaks, when it came to fall. There was a few tournaments that sort of hung on, and then, there was an extended break until the new season. And that's pretty much gone now for pretty much all of competitive golf, with maybe a few exceptions. And I think that, this is maybe part of the reason you see a lot more injuries and that as well, is they're, people are not getting, they want to stay competitive. They want to be playing in these events, and, you're seeing more injuries as we go along. So maybe they need to take an example out of your playbook and take some time off to enjoy life and have quality of life. And I like the fact that you're not spending, more than, say on average an hour on the range, because I think that's where a lot of amateurs fall into the trap, is they get out there and they're hitting balls for hours, and it gets to a point where they might have started out pretty good, but by the time they finish their practice session, they're suddenly stinking all of a sudden because they're tired, they're exhausted, and they're just not really in it anymore. So I think your method works very well for you, and obviously the fact that you've won 5 times on the Symetra Tour is a testament to that regiment. So thank you for joining us this morning, and I have a sneaking suspicion, Ruixin, you're going to be joining us before this season is out, maybe many more times as you progress through the season.
Oh, thank you. I hope I join this as much as I can.
Good luck, honey. Great job. I'm proud of you.
All right. Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah, you did it.
Ted.
All right. Bye-bye. Really amazing, Cindy, when you think about it, though. I mean, that type of performance is really unheard of. I don't know of anybody else. I can. Maybe because you had direct experience on the tour, but I don't know of anybody else that has that same kind of regiment where they go and don't play for 6 months and come out and, play a practice round and come out and win the first event. I mean, have you ever seen that before? I can't think of anybody.
No, but, it's funny because Alan used to be like, I've got to take a break. I got to take a break. I got to get out. And it's overkill. And I was the opposite. I was like, oh, no, I got to keep swinging. If I leave, I'm going to lose it.
Right.
And so she's got the right mindset. Bruce Litsky used to do that. In fact, one
that's
time
right.
his caddy left a banana in the bag where in a pocket that if Bruce had practiced during the off season, he would have found the banana. And at the next season, the banana was still in there and a little bit rotten, as you can imagine.
Oh, I'm sure.
So, yeah, Bruce Litsky was the same way.
That's right.
And
you know what? Now that you mention him, Oh, yeah. Now that you mention that, I remember that. He used to take extended breaks off, and he didn't really practice as diligently as some of the other players. Yeah, in fact, yeah. And I remember that now that you say that. I remember he did an interview, I think it was on the Golf Channel, and he talked about that, and somebody asked him, I forget who it was that interviewed him at the time, but asked him about his practice, and he said, I don't. He said, when I go home for a break, or he said, I'm doing things with family, I'm doing things with friends, just very much like Ruixin talked about. And, he's not thinking about golf. And then when he's ready to come back out, he'll warm up on the range. And even his warm-ups, I remember now vaguely, but I remember him talking about saying that even when he came out and did his warm-up, it was very sparse compared to what you saw others. And certainly, he didn't dominate the tour or anything like that, but he had a very good career. So, maybe there's something to that. Maybe there's something that people need to consider, because, I see a lot of, as I was pointing out, I see a lot of amateurs, as I know you do, that get out there and they're just raking and beating balls for hours out in that driving range. And, and they wonder why they're not getting any better. I think they just do it to the point of exhaustion. And then,
yep.
They're frustrated. So while we're waiting for Val, she should be joining us here in just a moment. You were down in Orlando last week at one of your boot camps. So how did it go? Tell us a little bit about it.
It was great. It was just a little bit chilly. It was like 52 and windy. And like, wait a minute. And one of the days, I think it was warmer in Buffalo than it was in Orlando. But we had great students and everybody learned something and they all got better and we had a great time. So we're going back in 2 weeks for the junior boot camp and I can't wait to go.
So tell us a little bit about the junior boot camp, because again, when you're working with adults, it's obviously probably a much different approach to that. So what's kind of the difference? What are some of the differences between maybe one of your, what I would say, your regular boot camp where you're, dealing with adults and juniors? Obviously there's age differences, but do you take a different approach with the juniors as opposed to the adults? Give us an idea.
I do not. I may push the juniors a little bit harder on, course management and pre-shot routine, if you will, because we teach all these kids all year, and this is where we really, it's more dedicated to how do I play golf and learn to score, because we're away from home and we're, it's consolidated 4 days of very intense training and playing. So we don't really do anything different, though, because the golf game is a golf game. You got to learn how to swing it and hit it and then put it where you want it to go and knock it in the hole, right?
Right. Now, do you find between the two, whether working with your juniors and working with the adults, do you find the juniors absorb more? Do they seem to be more, I don't want to say focused, but pick up things a little bit easier, do you think, than some? Because I think sometimes people that have been playing for a little while, particularly, tend to get a little complacent and don't always, I don't want to say learn as quickly, but don't seem to grasp things. Do you find that, or are they pretty much the same?
No, I think it's a personal issue. Are you there because you want to be there? Your parents are making you be there. Your wife brought you and dragged you here. The golf game, again, I've got a little thing about a nail. If you're sitting on a nail, why don't you get up off the nail? So how bad does it have to hurt before you're willing to change? If you keep yanking it, and you're like, well, I don't want to change that. Okay, then keep yanking it, right? So the point is do you want to get better? And if you want to get better, then let's discuss why it's not going where you want it to go and what we can do to fix that, to make it be more consistent. So I don't alter a youth thing. I think it's a personal issue of, do you really want to get better? And does it hurt bad enough to change? Because sometimes change is difficult, right?
Right. So tell us a little bit typically what goes on at one of the boot camps. We're just waiting for Val to call in, so we'll just spend a moment or two and talk about that. And hopefully she'll call in the next minute or two. But give us an idea. Walk us through typically what goes on at the boot camp.
Well, everyone that registers is required to do an intake survey, so we kind of know where you're at. What do you shoot? How many lessons do you take per year? In case I don't teach you. We had a couple come from Atlanta this week that I had never met or taught. And they saw me on the Golf Channel, and the wife said, I think she can help me. So that was a big trust factor on their part. So everyone takes this intake survey, and then they take a learning style assessment that I've created online to find out if you want to see it, feel it, or hear it, so I know how to teach you best. And then they take a behavior assessment to find out what their personality style is and a motivation report. So why are you here? Do you want to have fun? Are you trying to compete? You know, do you like being outside? Is it a family affair? All those things. And then the first day we meet inside the restaurant and we go over the reports so that they can understand not only themselves, but that it also can see who else is with us. It's a great icebreaker. And needless to say, you know, Cindy's a competitive control freak and Alan's Mr. Nice Guy, quiet, shy, sitting in the corner. So they understand who we are and who they are. And then we created a disc golf assessment that will help them understand that there are tour players in each of these behavior styles. And it's really important for them to understand that you have to be yourself. So Tiger Woods is a high D. Christina Kim is a high I. Ernie Els, Jason Duffner, and Alan Miller are high S's. Bernard Langer is a high C, which a high C is very analytical. You know, he once asked his caddy, Bernard Langer, if the yardage was from the front of the sprinkler or the back of the sprinkler. So all those different styles, you know, you have to be yourself. So if you're a child and you're a high S, which is pretty steady and shy and quiet, wants to hit balls on the other side of the range, and you have a high D parent, the high D parent might say, what are you doing? You got to hit more balls. Get over here, you know. And so they don't know how to act with each other, and therefore the child is going to be all stressed out. Ruixin, you could hear her say, if I practice more than an hour, I lose focus. Well, if she had a high D parent that was freaked out and pushing her to be number one in the world, they're going to have an issue. And clearly they don't, which is a blessing. But you need to understand all the styles that are in your circle, if you will.
Yeah, and it's very evident, as you said, that she didn't, because she said that her parents encouraged her really to, you know, to sort of right from the very early points in her career when she started playing golf, that they encouraged her to really, you know, enjoy other things and not just, you know, 24/7, you know, thinking about golf. So obviously they probably encouraged her and nudged her along at certain points, but it doesn't appear that they, you know, pushed her. And you know, Cindy, we've talked about this before, you know, in some of the you know, different schools and things like that work with juniors, where we see that the opposite happening, where, you know, the kids going out there doing, you know, their darn best, and the parents are on the sideline, you know, chomping at the bits and, you know, yelling at them and trying to get them to pick up the pace and do whatever else. And, you know, ultimately what ends up happening is, you know, the child just, you know, sort of crumbles to dust, and ultimately in many cases, probably even in some cases, walks away from the game because they're not enjoying it anymore. And I think you have to have fun no matter what you're doing, but you have to have fun at it. And if it's, you know, we understand that, you know, you want to play at a competitive level, you're going to have to work at it. But there's Ruixin, who's a perfect example that she doesn't kill herself, and yet she's gone out and won 5 times on the Symetra. So, you know, again, it works for her, right?
Yeah, you need to know who you are and what works and what doesn't work. And again, it's not that she's not competitive. I mean, she said, I want to finish, you know, really high, so when she goes back home to work on her foot, that she's got a cushion, that she's not worried about being in the top 10 on the Symetra Tour. Another thing that I will say is that it's important, especially for the kids who want to play long term, that you understand this is a game for life. And she made a comment about that of, you know, when you're young, time seems like, oh, I've got to do it right now. And when you're not, if you're going to play the tour for a long period of time, a couple months doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And you need to be very aware of that.
Yeah, you've got to pace yourself, I think in anything that you do. And I remember, obviously not last season, but I think, I'm not sure if it was 2018 or 2019, but I remember on the Symetra Tour, there was like 7, it might have been 8 events in a row back to back. And I remember some of the winners that came on by the time we got towards the 7th or 8th, they were beat. I mean, they were, it was, and so I think what they've done is in fact, I think, Mike Nichols, of course, chief business officer, when he was on beginning of this season, I think he said that they kind of spread things out a little bit differently because they were kind of getting a lot of them lumped in. And again, they're circling, all over the U.S. playing tournaments, not just California and Florida, but they're going up into the Northeast and Midwest and so forth. So, you've got climates and things throughout the season to adapt to. And, so sometimes, in the summer months, you're maybe up in the north and northeast and so on. So you're trying to ram a lot of tournaments in to fill up the season. And it's hard, I would think, for a lot of these players to play that many events, 2 events, maybe even 3 events, and then take a little bit of a break. But when you're doing, 6, 7, 8 events straight, that's hard on you. And for somebody like Ruixin, particularly, who likes to have a little bit of downtime, that's probably equally difficult for somebody like her. What do you think?
Yeah, because you got to pace yourself. So she'll probably take a week off, knowing that if she takes the week off, she's going to be better and more prepared than if she were just, continually playing. So it's important to know how to pace yourself.
Right, and as I pointed out in 2018, she won 3 times that season on tour. And maintained the number 1 spot pretty much if I recall, pretty much from the whole season. So, I mean, to be able to do that and maintain the schedule that she had, which was, a lot less than some of the other players, I'm sure, says a lot to her, to her mental state on how she perceives things, how she views things. And, it was interesting. What was, kind of funny was when she talked about Rosang, who, of course, is the number 1 world amateur. She, even though she's very calm, Ruixin I'm talking about is very calm and relaxed, she recognized the caliber of this player that she was now going to be in a playoff against, never been in a playoff, suddenly is combated with, hey, I'm in the playoff, I'm going against the number 1 amateur in the world, and, she's well-known, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. So she was understandably nervous going in, but very quickly she found a way through, communicating with her in their native tongue to be able to relax and calm that nerves down. And ultimately, it served her well. She went on to win. And that's got to feel pretty good for somebody in her position to, be up against somebody that is very well recognized worldwide in the golfing circuit, and to be able to come out and then ultimately beat her,
Absolutely.
And not just, it's going to be interesting as the season progresses. It's going to be interesting to see, as we start to bring more winners on the show each week. Of course, we're going to have another one. Obviously, who knows? Ruixin may be coming back next week, so we'll have to think of some other things to ask her. But because we know she's out in California, as she mentioned, and then I think she said they head back to Arizona for another event, and then she's going to take, they're going to be off, I think, for a couple of weeks. So, she'll be able to have that break. But I really do anticipate that she is going to. I would be shocked at this point. I think I would be shocked and surprised if she does not come back on the show this year, as a winner again, because I think she's going to win again. I would be very surprised if she doesn't, because I think she just has I mean, I just rambled off a little bit of the stats earlier, but that's a pretty impressive stat to get that many greens in regulation, to get that many. She's probably not the longest on tour in her distance, but she's obviously very, very accurate, right?
Yeah, and I think she trusts her swing. She's not searching. It's kind of like, this is my swing. I know what it is, and I don't have to think about this. I can put it in the cupboard and close the door, and then I'll pull it out when I need it. I mean, what a great attitude.
She kind of reminds me a little, I mean, not personality-wise, but the same approach. You mentioned Bruce Litsky, and another one comes to mind is Freddie Couples. Obviously Freddie has had a very good career in that, but he had that kind of laid back. I mean, some people almost wondered if he was, doing something else besides playing golf, because he would just come out there. But he would go out, and I watched him a few times, back in Canada when he played in the Canadian Open, and I would see him on the driving range, warming up or what have you, and I mean, he'd be chatting away and having a great old time, and he'd get up there and hit some balls, and then he would, he and his caddy would chat for a few minutes, and he wouldn't hit a ball for a few minutes, and then he'd pull another one up. So it's kind of interesting, yeah, so it's just a testament to the type of player that she is. I think we'll see her back. All right, it looks like, unfortunately, Val is not going to make it today, so we'll have to see about getting her back. I'm not sure if something may have come up, but so we're going to end a little bit earlier. But we want to, again, congratulate Ruixin Liu on win number 5 on the Symetra, the Carlisle, Arizona Women's Golf Classic. And we're going to be back next week with a new winner from Symetra and another great guest, so we'll hope you join us. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. God bless. Thanks, Cindy.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed listening to this week's Women of Golf show. Ted and Cindy wish to thank this week's special guests. Remember to join them every Tuesday from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern here on the iGolf Sports Network, or on any of these social media platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course Spotify. To get updates on the show, you can follow the Women of Golf's Facebook page at www.facebook.com/womenofgolf. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.